New York Jets training camp is underway, but of course, we have a massive headline. Hasson Reddick will not be in camp and will not be coming to camp. And as reported by Connor Hughes, the Jets have said that they will not negotiate with Reddick until he is in camp, and Reddick is not. So the official holdout of Hasson Reddick begins. There is a whole lot to dive into in this regard. But hello, everyone, and welcome to Rich Sports Talk, your home for all the latest and greatest on the New York Jets. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like, and make sure to subscribe. So, Hasson Reddick. Now, I've seen the national pundits basically, of course, do what you would expect in this situation. Rip the New York Jets. This deal should have been done before training camp. This deal should have been done when they signed Hasson Reddick. Of course, the New York Jets are completely dysfunctional, and I would say I was expecting this. Now, there is a lot to break down with this whole Hasson Reddick situation. It's a lot of he said, she said from both sides of the coin. But if you were to ask me today, Hasson Reddick will play for the New York Jets this season. Will he have an extension? I don't know. Will it be a renegotiated contract potentially? Will it be a one-year deal? Will it be a short-term deal? It is curious because more information has come out today. We've been hearing from the various Jet reporters, but Connor Hughes, I think, had a really good point about this. So, according to Hughes, the Jets, when they were trading for Reg, made him a contract offer. It would have been a raise from the $14.5 million he is scheduled for this season. Reddick declined that offer and said, the Jets said, if he wanted more, which is 25 to 28 annually, which is what he's apparently looking per year, they needed to see him perform first. In the meantime, the Jets would adjust his current deal, convert the non-guaranteed to guarantee with incentives. Reg told the Jets he was on board with this. He would show up for the off-season program, minicamp and training camp, which he did not. So basically, they were looking for an in-season extension if he would perform. Like a good example would have been John Franklin Myers. The Jets were talking about the contract before the season. They brought him in. He's played really well in the beginning of the season. The Jets rewarded him with a contract extension. Now you have Reddick skipping OTAs, minicamp and training camp, and the Jets have said they're not willing to negotiate until he shows up. I think the Jets feel a little bit burned because when they made this trade, from the sound of it, there was this agreement that he would come in, the Jets would likely try to extend during the season, or that he would play under the current contract. However, I don't know what's happened since then. It has seemed like the Reddick camp has all of a sudden decided that they want the guaranteed money. They want the long-term contract. And again, I understand it from the player's point of view. They're in a contract year. They want to be playing for fully guaranteed money. They want to have security. I get all of that. If you had to ask me my opinion, I think what the Jets probably were looking to do was something in the middle. I think that they were trying to do 19 or 20 million this year, but lay a lot of incentives in it. Like the Tyron Smith contract, I think is a great example. I think like if he played X amount of games, he'd get $1 million or a couple $1 million bonus. Sack numbers, he'd get a certain bonus. If the Jets made to a certain round of the playoffs, he would get a certain bonus. I think that's how the Jets wanted to structure it this year. Now, Reddick has said that he's looking for 25 to 28 million a year. So it's a lot of he said, she said. I'm more on the side of the Jets because I do think that the Jets, when they made this trade, because again, the common thing I keep hearing right now is, well, the Jets traded for him and they didn't have an extension. I am under the belief that the Jets made this trade for a couple of reasons. The first thing is they want a great pass rusher, but I said at the time of this trade, I was okay with it because I think the Jets were looking at it as a rental or a long-term player. And I even said, if Hasson Reddick is a one-year rental, I'm fine with that because they traded a very future third-round pick. This regime needs to win. They need to win big. And if they don't win this year, they're going to be gone. They're going to be long gone from this organization. So Reddick as a 1-year rental, I didn't hate. I didn't hate because it gave Will McDonald a little chance to ease in to a starting pass rusher position where he didn't have to be the main edge rusher from day one and allow him to grow. And look, if it worked out great and the Jets could work out an extension with Reddick, I would be fine with that. But again, the Jets, I can see why they're hesitant to give him an extension because keep in mind, they have a bunch of extensions coming up that they're going to have to figure out. Now, the thing I'm more upset about is they didn't get a Michael Carter extension or DJ Reed extension for guys that have played for this organization. But the one thing I hate is that lazy take. Oh, the Jets messed this up. Oh, the Jets messed this up. Oh, this is the Jet fault. I don't think it's any fault. I think that this is just negotiations. This is the NFL today. Now, today in July, on July 23rd, is it a big concern? I don't really think it is. I'd be more concerned if we're in late August and there's no deal on the table. And here's the biggest thing for me. I think that the Jets have the most leverage in this situation because they can portray a couple of different options, and I think that they have gone different options as well. I think that the Jets are looking at Reddick and saying, "We really like you, but we kind of want to see you perform for our team before we give you a long-term extension." And I kind of get it. You want to take a test drive with the car before you buy it, before you give him a full new contract. But again, I understand the Brian Burns contract probably played a role in this, that they saw the sign trade. He sees the value that he's getting. I think Reddick wants that financial security. But the other thing that we have to keep in mind, and why I was okay with the rental, is the Jets, if Reddick becomes a free agent, will likely get a third or fourth round compensation pick, basically what they traded for him. And the other big thing, too, with Reddick is if he wants to get paid and get probably what will be the last really huge, substantial contract or long-term contract in the NFL, he's going to have to go out there and perform. He's going to go out there and play. And if he holds out, that's just going to hurt his value. That's going to decrease his free agent value. So as much as I know fans are petrified today, it's early. I know a lot of people I saw today were also saying, oh, of course, the Jets have all this dysfunction. And I'm like, did people realize that the Dolphins had their prime pass rusher? They signed for agency. He just retired. Does that maybe ring a little bit of a red flag that they're already having players retire before training camp? But anyways, I know the Hasson Reddick holdout is something that is on the minds of a lot of Jet fans. I know it's got them upset. I understand the frustration. But Joe Douglas has had a history of getting these deals done. I think they will come to a compromise. Now, gun to my head, what do I think is going to happen? I think that the Jets would prefer to lock up Red to a 3 or 4 year contract. I think that the Jets ideally would like for him to start the season, he plays well, and they give him the contract. However, Reddick, I don't think is going to want to do that. So I think what the compromise will likely end up being will be a contract this year with a lot of bonuses, but with guaranteed money. There could be a potential 2-year deal where there's an option for next year. If, like, let's say X amount of snaps are played, it rolls into next year and becomes another contract, and it allows the Jets and Reg to negotiate in the offseason. I am of the mindset that Reddick is not going to be in a long-term contract with the Jets. Even though I would love that option, I just get the sense that as this goes along, that unfortunately, I think the Jets are going all in on this year, and they're not really thinking about the long term next year. They're not thinking about that at this point. Again, I wish they kind of were a little bit. I would like to have seen them go after Michael Carter with an extension before this season. I'm kind of hoping we get some announcements during training camp that there are some extensions. But overall, I think it's just very frustrating because this is just going to be a constant headline that you're going to see every day that he is not in camp. There's going to be this sense of how can the Jets not come to an agreement? How can the Jets not finish this? How can the Jets not lock in a player that they gave up a substantial draft pick for? And look, I get the frustration. I get all of that from Jet fans because it's just another headline that you wish just wasn't hanging over this team. Like, you want to talk about Aaron Rodgers at practice and the young rookies, but the main topic every single day until this is resolved is going to be the Hasson Reddick contract. Where do they stand on the Reddick contract? Is it any closer? There are some silver linings, I do think, to this, though. Number one being Will McDonald. I think if this goes for a couple of weeks or a couple of days, you know what? It allows him to run with the first team. It allows them to get some good first team reps, give some of these practice squad guys or some of these bubble guys more of a chance to make the roster. You know what Red can bring to the table. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that he's missing a couple weeks or a couple days of practice so that he can get other guys can get their reps. I don't think that's really the end of the world, but we will see what will happen with Reddick coming forward. Overall, I think this will eventually get done. In my prediction, it will likely be a very short-term deal because I think the Jets are on the season, but they don't want to financially commit much more beyond that, which, again, I understand when you're looking at their situation with their quarterback, with the coaching staff, with this front office. I think it's easier to make those extensions if both Saleh and Douglas have better feeling and job security at the end of the season than now. But I do think it will eventually get done. I do think Reg plays for the Jets this year. It's just going to be a process in order to get to that point. Now, a couple, it would be fun if I could just talk about like the jerseys and that kind of stuff today. But of course, the Jets had to throw this curveball at us. But my prediction is something that I think Aaron Rodgers has summed up very well. RELAX. Relax, Jets fans. It's the first day. It will get done. I understand it's frustrating. This is something you don't want hanging over the team. But I do think it will be done at some point. And as frustrating as it is to not seeing Hasson Reddick out there, as frustrating as it is to see this deal just still hanging over this franchise, I do think we get to a point where Reddick is signed and Reddick is ready to go for week 1. That's going to do it for this episode of Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest content. And let us know in the comments what kind of video you'd like to see next. Until next time, I'm Nolan Rich, and this is Rich Sports Talk.